right, everybody, welcome to the Zero Youth Corrections Youth Opportunity Grant question and answer session. My name is Emilio Dottore. I'm the Executive Director of the Milwaukee Turners, and I'm really grateful that all of you are sharing your time today and coming to this forum, especially on Bastille Day. We chose this auspicious day because it's the day that the prisons, the political prisons, were destroyed by Lafayette, and we want that auspiciousness is not lost its note with us. This is going to be a short information session followed by questions from you all on the Zero Youth Corrections Youth Opportunity Grant, which I'm assuming you've all received. After many public forums, Milwaukee County residents shared their ideas about possible solutions to prevent young people from being impacted by Wisconsin's mass incarceration system. We, the Milwaukee Turners, are really excited to be working with our friends here from Milwaukee County's Department of Health and Human Services, the Division of Children, Youth, and Family Services, as well as our friends from the Public Welfare Foundation, in addition to the talented people who have formed our advisory group. The purpose of this grant is to fund programs designed to prevent young people from having encounters with law enforcement. We will award a couple of organizations or a coalition of organizations a total of $400,000 to be used to implement programs that provide needed services to prevent young people from these interactions. We really hope to reimagine what youth justice looks like. In a minute, we're going to share a brief presentation of the grant itself, followed by your questions and answers. We're asking you all to imagine a society that is free of youth prisons. And considering the level of this funding, what type of program can your group implement that can make an impact? So it's my pleasure now to turn this over to Danique Seymour, who's going to tell you a little more.
Yes, thank you. I just want to say I appreciate everybody showing up today to this info session to learn more. I'm very excited about this opportunity, and it's really showing our commitment, showcasing our commitment as a part of the Department of DHHS, as well as Children, Youth, and Family Services, being able to make a commitment to the city, county of Milwaukee, as well as the community and the youth and the children that we serve every day. This is an opportunity for systems and community to work together more towards for the benefit of our youth and families. And it ties to our DHHS and our CYFS vision, which is becoming the healthiest county in the state of Wisconsin. And that's very important because, as you know, that is something that we have been steadfast towards. And if you've heard and been able to engaged with information coming out of our county exec's office regarding all of the strategies that we're putting forth for our community. You know, this is very, very high on our list, and we want to make sure that all the things that we're doing is to promote and support our community, ensuring that our community is part of the things that we're setting forward to do, and that they have an opportunity to weigh in, and then also be part of an experience like this. So I'm looking forward to this discussion today, and hopefully we can answer everybody's questions and be able to move forward with the process and start getting funds in folks' pockets so that we can get busy and do the work that needs to be done. And David, if you have any comments from the DHHS side, or Kelly as well, please feel free to step in.
Just to affirm your comments and your sentiments, just also a expression of gratitude to the Milwaukee Turners, to the Public Welfare Foundation, and to other local partners for helping to facilitate this process. We did receive feedback from hundreds of residents, young people, impacted persons, family members, and stakeholders about the needs for young people in the community. And these are the types of things that were lifted up that are the things that all of our young people and all of our families and neighborhoods need. Access to economic support, employment, quality housing, food stability, the things that prevent us from getting into vulnerable or impulsive decision-making that lead to encounters with law enforcement, oftentimes in neighborhoods where one could argue are over-policed. And so that kind of opportunity, that kind of innovation that we're pushing for is not something radical or threatening, but it is something that is affirming of basic unmet needs that need to be lifted up. That can come in the form of recreation, that can come in the form of social development, it can come in the form of exposure to things that you wouldn't see necessarily in neighborhoods that have had concentrated poverty or disadvantage. And so we want to make sure that we're putting that forward. Lastly, and I want to say thank you to Kelly Pefke, who is the interim administrator, and not sure if she has some remarks, but would definitely love for folks to hear from her perspective. The amount of money that we are offering for this is not accidental. So that number 400,000, as Emilio mentioned, in terms of envisioning a world where we don't need secure confinement for young people. Unfortunately, we live in an environment where there are threats to public safety, but I think the greatest threat to public safety is turning putting a dollar amount on problems that give a perverse incentive for us not to solve them. And so $400,000 is the estimated annual cost for a young person to be in corrections. And so what we are trying to demonstrate is how much more can be done with upstream investment, with engagement with youth and their families, with power sharing with people in the decision-making process, and using this as a tool to demonstrate what could be possible in a world where we didn't monetize the suffering that's going on in our communities. So I'll leave it there and pass it back to my colleagues.
Thank you, Deputy Director. I do just want to add to, I know this has been touched on, but this is really the first time we're trying to do something different because we all know what we've been doing has not been working. And it really takes you, the people in the community, those doing the work, to really help us and help the kids, families, communities, because we really know like you can't have a safe, a healthy community until everyone's needs are met. And so this is one of our efforts as far as reforming how and what we do here in Milwaukee County.
Great.
And with that, oh, sorry, go ahead. Thank you.
Yeah. So thanks to our colleagues at the county. Good afternoon. My name is Jed Oppenheim, and I'm a program director with the Public Welfare Foundation. And thank you for joining us today. As my colleagues have already said, I'm very excited for this opportunity and excited about the work that is happening in Milwaukee to create transformative justice for youth impacted by the criminal legal system. Public Welfare Foundation is a national foundation that has supported efforts to advance justice and opportunity for people in need for 75 years. Today, the foundation's efforts focus on catalyzing transformative approach to justice that is community-led, restorative, and racially just. Through investments in adult and youth justice reforms, we focus our attention on key states and cities across the country, including Colorado, Georgia, Louisiana, Michigan, Oklahoma, Washington, D.C., Jackson, Mississippi, and of course, Milwaukee. These efforts honor the foundation's core values of racial equity, economic well-being, and fundamental fairness. Our overall goal is to emphasize local investments because we believe that the best ideas for justice system transformation bubble up from the communities and local partners such as yourself. This is evidenced with the RFP focused on zero youth corrections and how to effectively serve young people who are impacted by the justice system. Joining with the county and the Milwaukee Turners, we're coming together to dedicate the pool of funds for work in the community to support our youth. RFP represents such a great opportunity to be imaginative and to offer your ideas for how best to address public safety. On behalf of the foundation, thank you for your interest in this work. Thank you for the work you've already been doing in this area. And thank you to the Turners and to the county and our entire team of community advisory members. With that, I will turn it over to Chrissy.
Hi, so I'm Chrissy Fung. I am the Grants and Operations Manager at the Milwaukee Turners. I am going to screen share with you in just a minute and try to really quickly go over the RFP and some of the surrounding documents for information. Hopefully y'all have gotten a chance to look at it already, but if not, we'll be going over it really quickly here. I'll try to take 10 minutes or less so that we can just jump into questions because I know everybody's going to have questions. Okay, can we see that?
Yeah.
All right, great. So this is just the website, milwaukeeturners.org/ZYC. You can find everything that you need here. I just want to call attention to the most important date, which is August 5th at 11:59 p.m. That is when your grant applications with all of your attachments are due to zyc@milwaukeeturners.org and ZYC grants application submissions at milwaukeecountywi.gov. And those email addresses, you don't have to memorize those. Those are in the RFP as well. So underneath applicant resources, you will see all of the documents that you need in English. There's a partial Spanish translation here. If you need a full Spanish translation or other languages, please get in touch with us. We will work with you. Underneath the applicant resources, you'll see a bunch of duplicate resources. So we provided everything for you in both PDF and Word formats, just because I know some are easier for some folks than others. So you'll see the 2 copies. You only need to look at 1 copy of each thing. And then we're going to jump right into the RFP itself. But first, I want to call attention to the checklist. Just make sure when you're submitting everything that you're looking at the checklist to make sure that you have everything complete. The checklist also makes it very clear which things need to be submitted in writing and which can be submitted in video. So as we talked about at the beginning of this presentation, we're really trying to be imaginative and innovative with the way that we're doing things. Obviously, there are some, say, fiscal requirements, and there are some things that we are asking for you to submit to us in writing, but we're really trying to push forward with what we're doing and make sure that we can give more folks access to submit this in ways that make sense to them for folks that are already out there doing this good work. So this is what the checklist looks like. And then we're going to jump right into the RFP itself. So for the organization information, this needs to be submitted in writing. We've had a couple folks ask already, so yes, you may apply as a coalition or a group of organizations or have partners, but one organization needs to serve as the primary applicant. The primary applicant will be designated as the fiscal sponsor unless you indicate otherwise. And if you need help finding a fiscal sponsor, please email us. If you need extra space in here with additional organizations, just go ahead and copy and paste that stuff, and same with the key contacts. For the project summary, this can be submitted in writing or as a short video, no more than 10 minutes. So I do want to emphasize the purpose of us including these video options is not that we need you to go out and be fancy and have this high production value video. This is just providing another option for you. It can be as informal as a recorded personal narrative on your webcam or phone. The point of it is to expand access. We're not looking for you to go spend a bunch of money on somebody to make a fancy video. We do prefer videos submitted in MP4, MOV, or AVI format. Or you can upload videos to YouTube or a website and provide us with a link, whatever works best for you. And so for the total amount of funding here, I'm also going to highlight that we're looking to provide 2 grants of up to $200,000 each, although you may request more. So for example, if you're a larger coalition requesting more, that's fine, but you will need to provide additional written justification and submit that with your application. All right, now looking at the budget, we have attached a budget template. This is a sample template, so you can use, you can change this or use another template as long as you're providing the total program income and the program expenses. So what we're looking at here is just an example of the level of detail that we would be looking for. The one thing that I will call out here is that we're asking for the total program income. So that should be $200,000 or more. But under program expenses, we're only asking what you're spending from the ZYC grant if you get it. So your total numbers will not necessarily match here, and that is fine. All right, going back to supporting documents. Depending on your situation, you may or may not need to submit these. So if you're applying as a coalition or partnership or a group, you may need a letter of partnership for collaborating agencies. We only require that if your partner organizations are not participating directly in the submission of the applications. And then we also have the option to include brief testimonials. So that we're really looking for testimonials that highlight community support and trust. I know a lot of y'all are already out there in the community doing great work, and you have lots of folks that you can count on to help you with these. So that can be a brief written statement or 2 minutes or less video. And you'll just submit that with the full application package. Now, under disclosures, when we are looking at the list of members of the Zero Youth Corrections Advisory Committee, you can click this link to view the list of members, and we've included that as a separate attachment on the website as well. So we're just asking you to disclose if you or your organization have any affiliation with members. And this is what that document looks like of the ZYC Advisory Committee. And then the very important document here, which is linked as well on the main page. This is a summary of community feedback that we got from the Zero Youth Corrections forums that we were talking about towards the beginning. So these are notes that have been distilled from feedback and comments from hundreds of Milwaukee County residents. That includes youth, impacted families, activists, leaders, as well as 2 forums that were held with youth currently incarcerated at Bellar Phillips Youth and Family Justice Center. So this is information that has come directly from our communities and from folks that are impacted. So it's a summary of frequently listed elements of potential solutions for youth programs to consider, and frequently listed issues faced by young people in Milwaukee. So we are really hoping that you read these over and take these into consideration and account when you are coming up with your applications and your programming. This was a very important and innovative process that we went through. I think we're all very grateful to have been a part of it and proud of the work that we've done here. So this document is very important. So hopping back over to the RFP itself, this will link you to the checklist that I mentioned before. And then at the bottom, we just have some information for some screenings that you would be required to go through once you are selected for the grant. So this talks about the requirements from the Greater Milwaukee Foundation, who is our partner in philanthropy for this ZYC Youth Opportunity Community Grant. You can take a look at those here. Just has to do with your nonprofit status and some screenings for ethics and for financial health. So I think that is my very quick overview of the RFP. If you have additional questions, so we will be answering questions now in just a minute, but then you can also feel free to email us questions at zyc@milwaukeeturners.org. And we're all collectively monitoring that email, and we'll get back to you as well. So with that speed take on this RFP, I will open it up to some questions. We've had some questions submitted already from some of you who are in the Zoom. So if we want to start with those, and then we can open it up to the floor for more questions. And I will stop screen sharing.
So to be eligible, do you already have to have contact with formerly incarcerated youth, or is the focus on prevention? So in terms of eligibility, no, but we do encourage those with lived experiences interacting with or being impacted by the justice system to lead the work or to be true partners in the work being proposed. Those with lived experience who have been directly impacted by the criminal legal system are represented amongst our advisory committee as well.
Jed, there's another question that just dropped in the chat regarding the, is it a priority to fund new projects, or can existing grantees apply, and will existing grantees receive less consideration in the process? Anyone want to take that?
Sure. If somebody is This funding is also available for people that are already running a program that is addressing this need. So if they fill out the application and follow some of the instructions and guidelines that Chrissy shared already, they are as eligible. And there is no, if you're doing something that works, then that's a beautiful thing and that needs to be uplifted. It's not like they'll receive lesser priority because they've already got an existing program. I see a few more questions in the chat.
There's one that I wanted to take real quick that I see.
Sure thing.
And this is about whether this has to serve youth who are currently involved in the criminal legal system, or should it be prevention focused? I think this is more, this opportunity is more geared towards the proposal that you submit itself, not favoring one over the other. And I think that we would like to see more upstream prevention services, but absolutely the impacted youth that could be served by this are a major component of this. We want to reduce our detention numbers, and we want to reduce the deeper end of the system, being the trajectory that some young people are on. So it depends on the proposal, and we welcome both approaches because we know that they often are in the same social network. There's a whole lot in the Q&A though. I'll pass them.
Yeah, I'm trying. I'm trying to keep up with these two. There's a question about the age range of the youth to be targeted. I would say I don't think we have a specific age range, but we know those that we serve in the youth justice system are 17 and below. But I would, and correct me if I'm wrong, anyone, I think we would encourage the proposals to focus on kids. I'd say in primarily the 14 to 17 it's a majority of kids in the youth justice system. It can go a little lower, but anyone 17 and 18 above does go to the adult system.
So we've all got real life going on in the background. That's joyful right there. So definitely, just to echo Kelly's point, you know, the youth justice age are those young people ages 12 to 17, and we definitely want to serve them. If there's a project that serves emerging adults or folks, you know, from the ages leaving youth justice, those transition ages, I'm sure that there's some consideration there. And what I mean by that is, you know, 18 to 20 could have some impact there. There's one major question that was asked to me on LinkedIn. I see it's now asked in here, and I wanted to toss this up for the group. Does the organization that applies have to be a nonprofit? And if there is some sub-grantee or kind of collaborative submission, could it involve for-profit entities? I'm tossing that up for my partners here.
Well, anyone can correct me if I have a differing opinion, but I don't see why not. There's also opportunity for individuals to approach things collaboratively. So if there are folks who are running an LLC or individuals who specialize in this and they see an opportunity to link with another partner, one of the reasons we had so many larger forums where we had hundreds of folks together was to also build some of those new connections to address this. I'm going to also connect that to another question in the Q&A. If you can provide services for more than one needed service, should you write the grant for each one or all together? I recommend writing them all together. So if you're offering comprehensive or wraparound service to prevent young people from being impacted in this fashion, that would only make your offering richer for the young folks who would participate. And so I would tie that all together. And again, that can underscore an opportunity for folks to approach this as an alliance if there's a nonprofit or a group doing and offering a certain type of service, which would be lifted up or complemented by another group. Jump on that.
A couple more questions. I saw one from Dennis Busing asking about the evaluation criteria. I know we had a real kind of robust conversation about this, about using a rubric or what the criteria is going to be. And I think it's important to lift up, given that some of the steering committee members are on line with us as well. Danique or Jed or Chrissy or Emilio, does anyone want to talk about how RFPs will be evaluated?
I'll jump in just because we've been talking about that as of late. Yeah, we are creating the rubric. We will be assured that it will address all the questions within the application in some way, shape, or form, making sure that it seems relatively comprehensive in terms of what it's set out to do, and that the rubric is also done in a way that hopefully will be innovative. We don't want to fall into just, old stock. Here's, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yay, nay, they answer the question. And this is exactly what we wanted. So the rubric is being created right now. And it is a process.
Thank you. We also want to add that this whole process was created also with the co-authorship of you, the public. That's why we had these public forums. So adding components and elements that best serve the people doing this work, making sure that this is done in a way that perhaps folks who have not been supported doing this work in the past have an opportunity to have their efforts funded, can be elevated. And the rubric to review this is going to reflect a lot of that intention too.
There's some questions too about the nonprofit.
You don't have to be a nonprofit.
Correct. You do not have to be a nonprofit, and there's no amount of time that you need to have existed. There's no limit on that. And then I think, David, you answered this is a 1-year grant, but there is potential to do another round or another, another round of grants in the upcoming 2023. And there's a question, the question about, I think we did answer this, to clarify, if you're for profit, you should not apply as sole agency. You do not, there's no limit around whether it's for profit or nonprofit.
And then we had another question about why are we limiting it to a total of 2 very large grants? It seems like it might prohibit smaller organizations from applying unless they are part of a really large coalition.
I think that's an excellent one to take. And I'll say the idea of multiple small grants did not really speak to the capacity building needs that we see in the community. But that doesn't rule them out as potential recipients. And I think my colleagues can speak to that. But there was a lot of discussion about, should this be broken up into smaller micro grant sized or small grant type of funding. And the thought was that it should be something that actually would allow for some capacity building of some grassroots efforts. And I think that also tees into what types of nonprofit partners we're looking for as well.
Yeah, the goal, we really want to provide funding to those who are doing the work to help build upon what they're already doing. And that can include a lot of smaller agencies, definitely, because you may be doing this amount of work and this, whatever, that number of staff, employees, volunteers, but how do we build upon that and how this is meant to support building upon that?
I was just going to jump to a question. We had a couple questions submitted ahead of time. There was a question about if there are specific restrictions on how the funds can be used, and general IRS restrictions apply, and no funds should be used for lobbying. But again, we're trying to be pretty expansive and innovative with this. So there's not a whole lot of specific restriction there, and that's very intentional.
There's a question and I can't find it. I thought there was one more that we had not answered. Oh, I don't know, did we answer, what are you all looking for in a nonprofit partner? Did we answer that one?
We didn't. We kind of danced around it, and I think we should take it head on. I think everyone has an opportunity to apply for this.
Absolutely, yeah.
But just say who this is designed for is for, I would say grassroots, smaller providers. That doesn't eliminate bigger ones. I would also say that collaboration is encouraged. I would also add, just given our discussions, that we're looking for entities that are not afraid to do what we call youth justice innovation. If they're starting something new, or if they're advancing something currently in the community that is pushing the envelope, that is not status quo, and that is not bound by system limitations, that's something major. And scale and TA and capacity building is something that we're looking at, how we can support agencies who would be the recipients of this through the contracting process, through some of our insurance processes, so that Milwaukee County is not a barrier to doing the work in partnership with the county. Another awesome question in the chat: has the committee considered an annual organizational revenue cap to encourage participation of smaller agencies? I can't hide my smaller agency bias, especially for this opportunity. But I think that, when we talk small at Milwaukee County, small to you might be, small to us might be big to you. So I'm scared to say a number in terms of organizational budget of what qualifies as small, because you have some organizations who have under 500,000 that are doing great work. You have some organizations that have under 50,000 in the community doing great work. And then you have, by Milwaukee County standards, under 2 million is a small agency. So I'm not going to decide the size. I really, as a part of this, and want to just lift up impact and encourage that this does involve impacted people and community level grassroots work being done.
There's a lot of questions in the chat. I'm just trying to get to them. So one of the questions was, do you have an internal goal of how many youth are to be impacted by this funding? There is no set number. I would say, obviously, we want to impact the most youth as possible, but also we're looking more for quality. We want to make sure that whatever the number of youth that are impacted, that the outcome, like whatever your outcomes are, that you're able to meet those outcomes. So if you're serving 20 kids and very high quality program that really addresses everything we're trying to address, versus serving 100 kids and making very little impact. So we're really leaving that up to the proposals or proposers.
And I think we want to be clear on that too, that, where we started off with, I believe in the introductions of how much we spend for one child to be incarcerated for a year, we know that even this money is a drop in the bucket. And so whether you're saying we're going to impact 5 kids or 50 kids, we know that it's a drop in the bucket for what is possible.
There's another question here that says, when evaluating proposals, how will an organization's past success and outcomes fare as compared to innovation and new ideas? Those things don't have to be connected. However, if you've done some work before and you can speak to your successes and movement addressing these young folks, and that's certainly something that's going to elevate and shore up your proposal to do some innovative new work.
There is a question about the reporting requirements. Oh,
I think a question is, forgive me for jumping in. Jed, I think you have a clarification of a question that has come up a lot. And perhaps maybe there's a solution with subgrantees, but apparently nonprofit status is necessary for to be a recipient of these funds.
Yes, and we apologize for that. So at the very bottom of the RFP, there's a note from the Greater Milwaukee Foundation, who is holding these funds, that they will do a nonprofit status check of the organization. It does not mean that a for-profit cannot be a part of whatever collective applies for these funds, but it does mean that the applying entity does have to be a nonprofit. But it also could mean if you're not a for-profit and you don't have nonprofit status, you could also still work with work with a nonprofit to apply. So if you're super small and you're working in coalition, you know, as long as it's a nonprofit that's applying, and that check will not be done until after you know, we've identified the award recipients.
Major question just asked in the chat, and Jed, you might want to take this one, or anybody on the team. Is this a reimbursement grant? Basically, do I have to put out my operating budget money and then hope to get it back in time to recoup and live?
No, this is, you will get all the funds upfront in one payment.
We had another question about the reporting requirements.
Reporting requirements for the grant. Danique or Jed?
I'm sorry, I missed that question. I'm looking at the questions in the chat.
Oh, sorry, it's in the Q&A box. Just what, if any, are the reporting requirements for this grant?
Kelly had a response to that.
so I know for the report we need, I think it's going to, we haven't gotten in all the details of that. I will say it's going to be based on the program. There will be reporting requirements, definitely, because we do also have to, whatever funds are provided, we do need like verification and data around those, how those funds are being used. So, and we will work with you to develop what that reporting will look like, what data will need to be collected, what information will need to be shared. So we do have some further discussion around that, but we definitely want to make it work. We're not work for the proposal or the agencies or organizations. We're not trying to have more red tape. We just need to be able to show how funding is being used and whether or not the funding is supporting our vision and the goals of whatever program service is being provided.
We also have the question of, can financial literacy for 15, 16, and 17-year-old youth be considered as a viable programming option for this grant?
So that would have to be tied to the goals of young people impacted by the criminal legal system. So youth who have some involvement or are at risk for it, or their peer group. And I know in Milwaukee County that could meet a lot of demographics, but I just would like to challenge folks that the type of young people impacted are not necessarily program types of youth. There's a lot of approaches that can be taken here. And so you would have to convey the connection to the outcome of reducing youth in the criminal justice system through your effort.
And then the other question on there is, would an audit be required?
I'm just putting the language from it's at the bottom of the RFP, but I'm putting the language from the Greater Milwaukee Foundation as to what their requirements will be. And I want to be clear, this only happens once the recipients are awarded. Will they do their nonprofit check? And so it might be, GMF might be looking for an audit, but I want to paste their notes into here so that it's clear. the financial checks, none of that stuff will be checked for every single applicant. It's only for those who will be awarded once that decision is made.
There's a question too about whether expanding programs to include adding another building for another site is acceptable. I would say, and anyone correct me if you have different thoughts, we're not looking to invest in like brick and mortar. We're really looking at investing in programming and services. So I think it depends what that program and budget would look like. Like if it's so the focus should be on actual interventions with youth versus paying for a brick and mortar.
Does anyone see any more questions or any questions that were missed? Feel free to repaste your question into the chat if we missed you.
I see something encouraging in the chat. Shout out to Pathfinders who are offering themselves as a partner. See some other questions about, is there any agency too big? I encourage big agencies to partner with smaller agencies since you have admin capacity. Let's think like that. Question about providing real estate training to underserved youth in Milwaukee be considered for this grant. Again, let's connect that to the broader goal of reducing young people in the carceral setting. And I've been asked the question again, how big of an organization is too big? Don't want to limit any organization from applying, but we want to encourage this partnership, especially if organizations have capacity. And then how will folks know? When will they be notified? And then is an even deeper question. Would we be able to know who is applying ahead of time to find out if there's a partnership opportunity? This is from anonymous attendee. I think anonymity is not going to necessarily help that goal. So if you can let folks know you're interested in partnering and put yourself out there in the chat, it'd be valuable to help do some dot connecting, referrals, and recommendations. How would folks be notified?
Sorry, did that say when will folks be notified? What the timeline is? If somebody can jump in, I don't remember the timeline off the top of my head.
I believe we were in somewhere around September. If we're accepting, if applications are due in August 5th, then it gives us an opportunity to go through the application. So it will be, I believe we settled on sometime at the beginning of September.
Thanks, Denise. And now I'm seeing a lot more folks in the chat that are talking about being interested in partnering, which is really great.
Please share your email addresses in there too, if you can. So I see Nikita Caldwell, I see Raquel from Your Move Milwaukee and other folks. That's great. Share contacts so others can connect.
So I see we have from April, are you all looking for new organizations, or will funding go to the organizations that have received funding in the past? And I believe we answered that question earlier, that all are welcome. You don't have to have been existed for a certain amount of time in order to apply for these funds.
Yeah, I see in the chat, some people are not responding all. So if you could make sure you're responding all. I don't know, Emilio, Chrissy, if we're able to share those who are sharing their emails after this. Like if they put their email in the chat, can we send that out to those who are registered to attend?
Yes, we can do that. Yeah, and for those of you sharing in the chat, there's a couple of options. You want to click share with everyone. Some folks are sharing with hosts and panelists, so I would encourage you to share with everyone so they can all see it, although you're welcome to private message us things as well, and we will share.
And I just also want to shout out folks who are on that have clinical support, people who are mental health providers, other things like that. Right now, there's a very difficult shortage of people who provide any type of support, particularly for communities of color. And because of this, it's going to be necessary for folks to partner with those types of institutions if they're going to have that as a component. So I just see a lot of opportunity here and want to encourage some cross-pollination with folks who are interested in this opportunity. But if you feel like what you have is strong and good for the community as you have it, don't let partnership be an obstacle for application.
And to that point, David, I mean, we have a lot of people, even Dr. Amarante has, as a for-profit, but wants to work with folks or partner with folks who are a nonprofit, and speaking to that component, that mental health component, coming together with maybe other ways in which we interact with our youth can be something pretty amazing if it's able to come together. So I'm really loving the different ways in which folks are responding to each other and providing and uplifting their services too.
I see someone has also asked another question in the chat. For partnerships, is there any requirements or maximum number of partners? And there isn't. Although we're encouraging partnership, you don't have to partner. And there's no maximum or minimum number of partners needed. So long as you're focusing on the quality of the program, that's going to prevent young people from being in an carceral situation.
Real important question. So much information is being given in the chat. I don't know if people are quick on the copy and paste, but folks want to know if this can be accessed. What I think would be awesome, Emilio, and I don't know if this is possible.
We'll do that. We'll share it.
Can we send out I don't know if we can do this. Can we send out those who attended, like the list of attendees?
Yep.
Yeah.
We'll edit the chat so that it'll include the substantive thoughts, questions, suggestions, and the emails of those that wanted to partner in their statements. And then we'll email that to the, I believe 88 different people have logged in here at one time or another. All of those attendees will receive the same information. And then we'll figure out how to make a list. If anybody else emails us that wasn't able to attend, we'll make mention that they can email us perhaps for that contact information in the future for those that are interested in partnering but weren't able to attend live and just watch the recorded version later.
And also, if people want an immediate capturing of what's happening in the chat, your 3 dots at the bottom, it gives you an option to save the Zoom chat. So you can also do that as well if you want immediate information and wait till the others deciphered and broken down and given. So there are a couple of options that you can use to get that information.
And based on these questions that we received ahead of time and questions that have come up in the chat, we will publish a frequently asked questions document and put that on the website as well, just so everyone has access to the same information.
I want to shout out some of the other agencies that are inviting partnership. I think this is the way to bring the work that we do to scale and to diversify the provider network. So, this is very encouraging. Thank you.
So it looks like the chat cannot be saved unless you're a host or panelist.
No problem. We're still going to save and then email all the attendees the chat. So if you can't do it now, you'll get it later.
Did we miss any questions? And if we did, please put that in the Q&A. That's the easiest, I think, at this point for us to find it.
Yeah, there's a lot of information in the chat.
Which is great.
It's great.
Yes.
It's great.
I just want to make sure, I'm just going through everything now, make sure we catch everything.
And again, if there are questions that come up, you can still email in questions after this. And we have the email forwarding, and we will all be able to respond to that as well, because I'm sure more questions will come up as you kind of get into the RFP.
Well, excellent information, excellent questions, friends. I just want to echo what my colleagues and friends here have said. It's wonderful to see people leaping forward and leaning into partnering.
Now, we have this time until 3:30, folks. I don't know if we need more time, but I see a lot of activity, Emilio and team. Do we want to give people the gift of time back?
I think that would be good.
Yeah, I would say we don't need to be on. Everyone's time is already pretty short.
And I
Let's
was just-
confirm that you can email us additional questions.
Yep.
If you go to all the supportive information, the information that Chrissy ran through, and the information that's the basis for what David, Kelly, Jed, and Danique have discussed is on milwaukeeturners.org/ZYC. And you can link that from the email that got you here in the first place or just on the website. And then you can email us additional questions at the emails that are listed at that same site, which is also ZYC@milwaukeeturners.org. And Chrissy shared some of those in the chat as well.
And as questions do come in, we'll make sure to get those out on the Q&A as well, because we want to make sure everyone has the same access to the same information. Okay, I don't see anything else coming. I love the excitement. This is great. So I think we're good. I don't see any other questions. Okay, so following, we'll make sure we get everything out to everyone. Okay, just want to make sure that wasn't a question. So I think we're we're good to close out, give everyone 35 minutes back of your day. But I just want to thank everyone for being here and taking the time out of your day to spend it here and learn more about what we're doing. And we're excited. We're very excited about this opportunity, and we're excited to work with everyone here in different capacities. If it's not, there's hope. We're hoping this is just one opportunity, that there'll be plenty more in the future. And with that, anything else before we close out?
Have a great one, everybody.
All right.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, everyone.